Oh, we take it to game 4 in Indy. Aaron Nesmith at the buzzer, beats the buzzer with the low baseline J right there. Look, the Pacers already had a 39-point lead at that point. Went up 41 going into the half and closed this one out with a 20-point victory. Darius Garland finishing his night with 21 points. Donovan Mitchell did finish his night with 12, did exit the game early with an ankle injury. But this was all about Indiana. At one point, led by as many as 40 points in this game, dominated on all sides of the ball, 44 rather. But the Pacers now up 3-1, looking to close this thing out. We're now joined by CBS Sports NBA analyst John Gonzalez. John, is demoralized a fair word to use on what the Pacers did to the Cavs to go up 3-1 in this series? But what stood out to me when I watched this game, I was like, you know what? We didn't see a ton of buckets coming from Tyrese Haliburton, just 11 points in the win. But what did this game tell you about this Pacers team?
Yeah, that was a team effort, right? I mean, you're absolutely right, Keon. I was looking at the box score afterwards, and there wasn't any one individual that, like, jumped out of the box score at you. I mean, like, Siakam had a pretty good game. He's been mostly bad during these playoffs, but he had 21 points. That sounds fine, right? Miles Turner, he had 20 points. He was jacking up some heat check threes. Really, though, it was just across the board, even scoring, efficient scoring. 7 Pacers had 10 or more in this game. They were up 41 at the half. At one point, their biggest lead was 44. They shot the ball well from the floor, 52%. They shot the ball well from deep, 42%. They shot the ball well from the line, 80%. And really what it was just effort. The Pacers came out ready to play and jumped all over the Cavs right away. And the Cavs just did not meet their energy, did not meet their efficiency. They look like, I don't know, that they were lost or they had more time, or maybe this series they think it's going to be 9 games or 11 games instead of 7 games. But right now, Kiana, down 3-1 to the Pacers, going back to Cleveland, not knowing what the status is of Donovan Mitchell, who didn't play in the second half with that ankle injury. If you're the Pacers, this is a horrendous showing, and this is the worst case scenario for them.
Absolutely. And then you think about it, this Cavs team had the highest offensive rating in the NBA, and to be limited the way they were in this game, is that more so a credit to Indy, or was this just not the night for Cleveland?
Yeah, since January 1, the Pacers have been playing really good basketball. Only 3 teams in the NBA had better records than them: Oklahoma City, Boston, and the Cavs. And Pacers have figured out their defense, but this was just the Cavs really not showing up in this. And it's kind of staggering. It's shocking, frankly. They had 64 wins this season. They're the best team in the Eastern Conference all season long. The only team that had a better record than them was Oklahoma City. As you mentioned, they had the best offense in the NBA all year long. Well, tonight, it was the Pacers. And in this series, it was the Pacers who looks like they have the better offense. The Cavs also had a top 10 defense, Kiana. They have 2 guys in Donovan Mitchell and Evan Mobley who are going to make all NBA. They have the defensive player in the year in Donovan Mitchell. They have the coach of the year in Kenny Atkinson, and they are 1 more loss away from starting their summer. Look, if they don't get out of this series, and it right now looks like they're not going to, this will be a lost campaign for them after having a fantastic regular season. But a whole bunch of people question whether or not that regular season would translate in the postseason, and right now, it is not translating.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was literally about a week ago we were talking about the Cavs and the injuries that they were dealing with, being without 3 key players, and it's now like they can't catch a break because now you have Donovan Mitchell's ankle injury. You can't necessarily blame the loss on that, because they did trail by 40 before that injury. But what does maybe that do to the psyche of this team? Because now you have your backs against the wall, you're heading into your elimination game, your star is dealing with an injury, and you have all of these variables. What does that do to a team when you're entering this game?
Can't help, right? Definitely doesn't help. Yeah, the injuries were definitely a thing. They didn't have Darius Garland in games 1 and 2. Evan Mobley and DeAndre Hunter went out in game 2, but all of them came back. Mobley, Garland, and DeAndre Hunter came back for game 3, and Mobley was fantastic in game 3. Garland was good tonight and looked much better than he did in game 3. And then DeAndre Hunter also played again tonight and looked good defensively. Yeah, it's not great to have Donovan Mitchell go out with an ankle injury, but this is the postseason. Everybody's got to raise their level. You've got to overcome these injuries. Again, you are the #1 team in the Eastern Conference and the 2nd best team in the NBA all season long. Your offense completely abandoned you tonight. Your effort, your energy completely abandoned you tonight. So yeah, not having Donovan Mitchell for the second half, that absolutely hurt them. Not knowing his status going into game 5, that can't help. But this season, came down to more than just injuries and Donovan Mitchell going. Donovan Mitchell was fantastic during these playoffs and did everything he possibly could to buoy the Cavs. Now the Cavs got to pick him up.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Cavs are also probably going to need all hands on deck as they are facing elimination in that game set for Tuesday. We'll see if they can bounce back after a demoralizing loss that they just had. John Gonzalez, appreciate the time there. Thank you so much. Well, it doesn't happen very often, but it has happened. One seed to complete the 3-1 series comeback in NBA playoff history. Well, the Cavs have done it before, if you remember, back in 2016. Well, they were one of the last teams to do it then, and the Warriors back in 2016. Can they do it again? Well, they're going to have to try. That begins Tuesday. Hey. Well, take a look at the Thunder's evening. The second worst field goal percentage in a playoff win in franchise history, shooting just 35.6%. Meanwhile, the bench outscored the Nuggets 35-8. But on the other side of this, the Nuggets didn't shoot well either, being held to just over 31% from the field. But you know what doesn't matter? Your shooting percentage when it ends in a W. We're now joined by CBS Sports NBA analyst John Gonzalez. And John, let's be honest here. We're going to call a spade and call this game ugly. It was ugly not just for Denver, but also OKC when it came to shooting. But I want to get your take on what was the ultimate difference maker in Game 4 for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's just that Oklahoma City was resilient. This was a question coming into this game, this series, these playoffs, Kiana, was whether or not Oklahoma City could keep calm and win in these tight situations in the playoffs. They haven't really played many clutch games all season. They played the fewest clutch games, actually, all season long of any team in the NBA. That's because they throttled everybody that they played, right? I mean, they won the Western Conference by double digits over the 2 seed, the Rockets. So that was okay. And then the first series against Memphis, they just steamrolled through Memphis as well. So they hadn't really played many clutch games. They had that Game 1 that they gave away, and then the overtime thriller in Game 3. So now in this game, yes, this was an ugly game. They did not shoot the ball well. They shot the ball pretty poorly, actually. They shot it even worse than they shot in Game 3, but it doesn't matter because they stuck with it. And as you mentioned, SGA, team high 25 points. Then he also has, 9 of those in the fourth quarter. So he was there was only one other starter. Jalen Williams was the only other starter in double figures, and he only got there because he shot 2 free throws late, and he was coming off a playoff career high Game 3. So to see the Oklahoma City Thunder answer that question in Denver and beat the Nuggets, who do have that playoff consistency, and they have been tested in the postseason. That was the one thing that you wanted to see from the Thunder.
But meanwhile, I know we're talking about SGA, and you talk about it being a clutch game, terrible shooting outing, but I feel like we got to give credit where credit is due. And I think we got to highlight what we saw out of OKC's bench, because we had 3 players in double figures. They accounted for 32 points, but not just that. OKC's bench, well, let's talk about the team as a whole. They had 10 three-pointers in the game. 8 of those threes came from their bench. How important was that in the difference in this game?
Yeah, I'm glad you flagged that because, as I mentioned, Jalen Williams in Game 3 was fantastic. He had a playoff career high 32 points. Tonight,
Chào các bạn nha. Hôm nay mình sẽ là với các bạn cắt giản. Đây là cái lò vi sóng nha. Bây giờ mình sẽ vào cắt giản.
Chào các bạn, quay trở lại kênh của mình. Mình sẽ cho bạn một vòng với tiêu đề là chiếc ghế.
Rồi rồi rồi.
Sao tiếp?
Thôi nha.
No.